You can't imagine how much this earth is able to give to you, to give back to you in a way, whenever you give to the earth. Like I can tell you, you cannot imagine how much you can be restored and restored for good to your natural capacities, to who and what you truly are, and everything that you've ever knew that it has to be possible. You can be restored in unimaginable ways with each act and each deed that you do for this earth. It's unimaginable what this earth can give to you when you start giving to the earth. Like from my experience, after I started gathering these garbages, I can tell you that my life changed. At first I started, feeling compelled, to gather them, and I started gathering them a bit. I was extremely ashamed at first to do it because people were looking strangely at me, and I was gathering garbages from the cities. I was, imagine one girl, dressed nicely, gathering in a bush somewhere, in the city, just, pulling papers and, bags, and sometimes muddy bags, and just people were looking like, what the heck? Just they didn't have even a concept, for what's happening, because they never saw something like that. Just they were looking like, what the heck? Like some people, by the way, at some point stopped. They wanted to give me money or something, and I felt extremely ashamed to do it because I didn't wanted all this attention, and I felt extremely ashamed. I felt like people were looking like at me like I was this, mad woman or of sorts. And probably some of them, this is what they thought, and I was extremely ashamed. But I still felt compelled to continue and gather them. But I can tell you that sometimes it was so hard to do it. It was like effectively, it was like, putting my hand on a burning stove. This is how hard it felt. Like all my cells in my body didn't wanted to do this. Like I was seeing probably, let's say, a garbage in a park somewhere, and there were people around, and my entire cells in my body screamed, no, please don't do it, don't go. It's like my entirety of my human self didn't want it to go, and pick that garbage up, but there's something in me which wanted to pick it up. That's the thing. There's something in me which felt that garbage shouldn't be there. It's just abnormal to have in nature even one garbage. Even one garbage in nature is abnormal. So I knew with the core of me that garbage shouldn't be there. But the human self was completely ashamed to go and pick it up, because what would the others think? Would they think of me as crazy? It's like, would they look at me like, oh, look at that one, what the heck is she doing? Pulling like dirty, bags from that corner, muddy corner, like what the heck, And I felt extremely ashamed. As I said, it was as hard as putting your hand willingly on a, hot stove. It was extremely hard, but slowly, gradually, I couldn't do it perhaps fully, but I started gathering a bit here, a bit there, I started getting accustomed with how uncomfortable it felt to see people staring at me, or trying to give me money or stuff like this, but something in me felt like, no, this is what it has to be done. These people, first of all, they have to see something different. They have to see something different because the entire society is run by the same type of behaviors. They all go home, they all watch TV, they all go to the supermarket, they all eat, they all go to the movies, and then they go back home, and they go to work, and then they go to the supermarket, and then they go back home, and that's all they do all day long. So whenever they go to a park, they all act the same way. They all stay on the bench, they all eat popcorn and ice cream, and they talk with each other and laugh and, run and, use the bicycle or whatever, but they all just repeat the same things. So they have to see something different. They have to see a different thing. And you looking at a chick, and I was nicely dressed, by the way. I was nicely dressed. So looking at this nice, even beautiful woman, just gathering garbages from a corner, muddy garbages, and staying there, really involved, I was sometimes spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes gathering garbages which were just, filling a certain area of a certain place in the city. And these people were looking like me like, what the heck is happening, What is she doing? What is she, But slowly, I think I could feel how, even though for me it was like dying or out of shame while I was doing this and feeling or their their gazes upon me. Even though I could die out of shame, I still continue to do it because I felt like there's something changing in them. Even though some of them I felt, disgusted or, not necessarily disgusted, but just like what the heck, like not understanding and feeling afraid. Like I could feel how some of them felt afraid when they saw me because they didn't know what was happening. What are they seeing? Because it's like they didn't have a frame of mind to put me in. There was no box, because here was a woman and she's nicely dressed and clean and beautiful, and she's gathering dirty, smelly, probably not necessarily smelly, but they were muddy garbages sometimes. I could, like, I was pulling things from the ground which had ground on it, and I for example, some things like a old plastic bottle might have been half or just the tip of it out and the rest in the ground. So I would have to use force to pull it out, and then the ground would splash over, and it just you don't usually see this scene. Like, who has seen this scene, like a beautiful woman nicely dressed? Sometimes I would just happen to have a dress on me, not pants, for example. I would have a real dress, and imagine a woman in a dress pulling garbages from a sideway or something. It didn't make any sense for them. Like, why do you do it? Sometimes I was with my sister at some point, and I started to clean the area around the cleaning bin, if that makes sense, because it was really dirty there, and it just felt unnatural. So to be in the city and to see so much dirt around the cleaning bin, so I started cleaning around the cleaning bin, and then my sister told me, like, what are you doing? Then it's like, you're freaking cleaning around the cleaning bin. Like, why? Why are you freaking doing that? It's just, but for me it just feels natural, man. Humanity had to see something different. That's one thing. It didn't matter that it was this type of scenario, that they were seeing this, but they had to see something different. And the thing is that I was doing nothing wrong, because if I was trying to do something different, but being different in, like, trying to, let's say, vandalize things and to show, like, I'm rebellious, I'm doing, I'm marching on the street, marching for whomever type of, or preaching some form of religious theory with a megaphone on the street or whatever. That's not different. It has been done, like, so many, people had tried to be, fighting against the system or whatever, but with violence, But I was doing nothing wrong, I was just gathering garbage. It's like, that's a good thing. And there is no script, nothing telling me that I shouldn't gather the garbages. So just people, they were looking at me like an alien, like, what the heck? Like, she's not doing anything wrong, but she's not doing anything that we know of either. So what the heck is happening, And that was something, is like disruption. That was a way to disrupt the scripts. That's a way to disrupt the mental scripts under which most of society lives under. Because all of a sudden there is nothing wrong doing, but that was a rebellious act. That was an act of rebellion. But it was like I was doing something apparently good. But it was something outrageous at the same time, because why are you doing this? Why are you so nicely dressed and going in such muddy areas of the city? And I remember there were at some point I visited some friends, for example, and we were in one of the days that I visited them, we made an excursion, a short trip to a place in nature, and I was with them and with the car of this friend, and I saw some garbages under a pine tree, and I had some, garbage bags with me, and I went and I took the thing, and I could see how this friend started feeling extremely uncomfortable. It's like, oh, why are you putting your hands on that stuff? I know, stop putting your hands there. Just don't do it. They were disgusted. But they themselves started feeling uncomfortable because I was doing the work. I was doing the thing, but they felt uncomfortable. And I will tell you why they felt uncomfortable. It's because they knew that was the right thing to do. But they would have never picked that up from there. And they started feeling ashamed of themselves, in a way, for not doing that right thing, And because they wouldn't have done it anyway, they tried to stop me from doing it, because they didn't want to have in their mental model that this new kind of disruption, thinking like, oh, actually, yeah, this is the right thing. When we see garbages in nature, we should pick them up. But hey, I'm too lazy, or I'm not putting my hand in that stuff, No, I'm too clean. I'm a clean, city boy or girl. I'm not doing that stuff, I'm not dirtying my car or anything. I'm clean. I'm pure. I'm not, going in the garbages or anything. So they didn't wanted to see that was the right thing to do, This is why they tried to stop me from doing it. But I just continued doing it, and I took the garbage, and that's it. Because that was the right thing to do. So all of a sudden you had this disruption, But it was really hard, that's it, because it wasn't easy for me to do it. I could feel how my friends, for example, then they rejected me. In that they almost told me like, they feel uncomfortable around my presence, and it was really hard for me, because I pretty much lost that friendship through those actions. These people truly rejected me up front, and they were friends before, and it was difficult. It's not easy, it hasn't been easy to do this stuff, but it was right. That's the thing. It wasn't easy, but it was right. I knew I was doing the right thing, even though it cost me so much at the human level. It cost me friends. It costed me everything. Family relationships, friendship relationship, business relationships, everything. I've left them behind in a way, because I knew they were wrong in the form that they were before. I knew there is something better. I knew there is something more right, in which a new or a way of being which is more right for all of us, and we have to find it somehow, and some of us have to start finding it. So to get back to my initial point, the idea is that even though it was so difficult to start doing this action of cleaning the garbages, and really when I say this, I can't even describe how difficult it truly was. It was so difficult that at some point I stopped it for some time, okay? Because it was too much for me. It was to bear so much shame, so much heaviness all on my own, you know, and it was difficult to bear all these things on my own. But slowly, by the way, at some point I saw that people started to join me. Like my sister started to join me at some point, in one occasion I mean. Another friend started to join me willingly. Another friend then started to join me willingly. And some children started to join me at some point. And the idea is that I could see, but by the way, they started to join me only after I continued to do this stuff for much time. Like they saw me once, they saw me twice, they saw me doing this, and at some point they started doing it, you know. And then I started to feel something in them. Like they started feeling better, man. They started feeling what I was feeling when I was doing it, because each time I did it, I felt rejuvenated. I don't know how to describe it. Like I felt more alive, even though I probably lost friends, or I had to endure so much shame from the, you know, gazes of people that were looking strangely at me and all of this stuff. And I had to feel like an outcast and an alien, and, you know, having no friends, no family, nothing. It was difficult. It was difficult to feel like this. I mean, I need to also, I need to say that it felt like, you know, I had nobody by my side. But of course, the family was there. My family didn't abandon me, but they just didn't understood me, or they just, you know, they thought I'm a bit insane, you know. Actually, my family at some point, they told me like they think I'm insane. Not necessarily for gathering garbages, but with other stuff that I was saying or doing. But in any case, it felt difficult because I felt like I don't have them there at, like, from a true perspective. Of course, physically they were there. They didn't throw me out on the streets or anything. On the contrary, like I had in this life a family which always worked to keep everybody, you know, close to each other and take care of one another, and they were really close physically. But I didn't have them there in my core, like in my heart. They were not there in heart with me, you know. They were there physically. They were providing me with food and, you know, even emotionally trying to be nice. But in my core and in their core, they were not with me. I felt alone at my core. I kind of, by the way, always felt alone in this reality at the heart level. So the idea is that after they started to join me, I've seen the change. I've seen how they started to feel better. They started to feel more optimistic and better about themselves. They started to feel more like, oh, wow, I feel better about myself. Each time they started gathering garbages with me. Like the last time it happened now, I went out on a short trip with a friend I haven't seen for a while. And I felt extremely ashamed because this friend never saw me gathering garbages, but I seen some garbages and I was in the forest with him and I started gathering them without telling anything. I have, you know, garbage bags in my backpack now all the time, and I, you know, pulled one off and started gathering them. And at first he looked like, what the heck is happening? It's like, I thought we were in the forest. What the heck are you doing? But he's the nice and polite and type, and he said nothing. He looked and he looked and he looked, and, you know, after 15 minutes he started, you know, without saying anything. We didn't talk to each other because I was busy doing my thing there with gathering them, and we went there in the forest to visit a certain cave, you know, or something. And so we had an objective, but I stopped a bit on the way to gather these things. But after some time, after we went even closer to the cave and we seen the cave, I came back and I went to go and visit the cave. And when I came back, I saw that this friend, man, in my absence, he had gathered so many of them. He had, you know, found a, you know, abandoned bag somewhere, and he had in that abandoned bag he had put so much garbage that he found on his own, and it was like, oh wow, did you do that all on your own without me telling you anything and without even talking? Like, you've done this on your own while I was away and visiting the cave. Wow. In my mind, I didn't told him, but in my mind it was like, oh wow, you did this. It's just wow. And I could feel, like, because I have this energetic perception and I can sense and feel what people think and feel, I could feel how. And then we went together with the bags, like the garbage bags. We went back through the forest from the cave, because there is this cave in the forest, and there was a trail through that point. And then we gathered the garbage around the cave or something, and then we were, just going back in silence with each of us with its own, garbage bag, and we put it to the bin there. But I could feel how he felt extremely better about himself. Like, he had such a different attitude after all of this. I don't know how to describe that. I could feel in himself, in his energy. It's like he started to feel more like, oh wow, I've done something of true value. He really started to feel like, oh wow, I really made a difference today. And that's the thing. This is what I'm trying to describe, that whenever we do something for nature, whenever we truly do something, like it's undescribable what we receive back. It's undescribable how much we receive back with each true act, each true right act. See, just really, when I say it is undescribable, it's far from being an exaggeration or something. It's like it escapes words. It's a magnitude of value on so many levels, like psychical and mental, and even physical stamina. Somehow you get more energized chemically, physically, by, first of all, being in nature, let's say, or doing something right. I don't know, it's just you feel better about yourself, you feel more self-worth, I don't know, and then your self-image changes, and you see that you're stronger than you thought you were, like, you can do a right thing, which is easy in a way to do, but it's hard mentally, because who wants to appear like the garbage guy, by the way, a friend at some point asked me, like, a friend, what, Denisa, did you started being, a garbage girl now? And I said, like, or something like a garbage employee now. This is how he asked me, like, oh, did you started being a garbage employee right now, and I said, like, well, only part-time, and so yeah, it's like people don't want to see themselves like being, filthy, and don't want to be associated with garbages. I don't want to be the garbage man. But when we do this this type of right acts, and when we allow ourselves to be put in a really probably not nice position, and to go through all this shame or all these uncomfortable feelings that arise, but then at the end of it, it's just what we are gifted with is undescribable. And this is where I started with, by saying that what Earth is able, like what we are receiving from Earth, with each act for the Earth, that we are doing for the Earth, is unimaginable. And gathering garbages is one of these type of acts. Maybe there are other type of things that any of us can do. If we listen to our heart, and I believe we are going to be called. We will listen, we will hear. Earth is going to call us. And we will sense and we will feel what's our act that we can do for the Earth. And if we listen to it, and if we make the courage to do it, then I can tell you, like, you are going to be rejuvenated in a way which is undescribable. Not only that you start to feel more self-worth, it's just you're being given skills, memories. Earth is going to speak to you. You're going to hear things and perceive things in a completely different way. Your dreams are going to change. Your perception of reality is going to change. Your mind is changing. When I say it is undescribable, I really mean it. Your whole experience of reality changes because you're starting to live in tune with Earth. And I can tell you that living in tune with Earth is what grants us back all our skills, all our knowledge, all our powers, everything. When we attune to the Earth attunes to us. And this is what we are missing. We are missing the Earth because we are missing ourselves. Earth is us. And we are part of Earth as human beings. So, with every right act that you do for the Earth is there to, let's say, multiply that tenfold. I can assure you of this from my experience. You are going to be gifted back tenfold. And I believe this is, in a way, our true journey back towards the naturality of everything. It has to be or to pass through this stage of re-establishing our true, innate, natural, living connection with Earth. Us and the Earth, we have to become again completely synced together. So I can tell you that as you make a step towards the Earth, Earth is there to make a step, or maybe not only one step towards you, but 10. Whatever you're giving to the Earth, you're receiving back tenfold. And this you can only experience it for yourself. Try it and probe it for yourself and see it for yourself. See for yourself what this truly means.